im se svima, i malima i velikima, i bogatima i siromašnima, i slobodnjacima i robovima, dade žig na njihovu desnu ruku ili na čela njihova, te da nitko ne može ništa kupiti ili prodati.
Pozdrav dragi narode, dobrodošli u još jednu epizodu Slobodni. 5G, danas je to tema. Moj gost dolazi iz Švicarske i uistinu imam što za reći o toj temi, a mislim da će vas sve to zanimati. Od sad nadalje idemo na engleskom. Hello Christian Oesch, welcome to Croatia.
Well, thank you, Deja. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm very pleased to be here with you all. Thank you so much for all the viewers and listeners. Thanks so much.
Can you tell a few words about yourself for our viewers in Croatia?
Yeah, well, I spent quite a bit of time in the United States. I spent 24 years over there. I had two different careers and ended up in integrative and alternative health. Not that I ever studied medicine, but I was a manager, international platform that I managed over many years, and that obviously allowed me to participate in that what really interests me, which is really health in general. I spend a lot of time in ski racing in Switzerland. That's what kind of brought me to the United States, and then that all goes on. But I'm back here in Switzerland now, and I'm super active with our non-profit organization called the Swiss Association WIR, WIR, and we're involved in various subject matters, and most likely obviously about 5G and all about that.
Yeah, we can talk about lots of topics with you, but 5G will be more focused today. What is your mission with fighting against 5G in Switzerland?
Well, that's an excellent question. Our mission here truly is to identify what really are the misinformation, false information, and even the absolute lies about 5G. We only hear about the one aspect, which has mainly to do about commerce, selling new equipment for us users, our handies or our cell phones here, and but behind the curtain there's a whole different a load of information that we are identifying. We get to the sources, we get the facts about really what is all hidden about the 5G agenda, and so more and more people can understand that this really doesn't have much or only to do with our handies or our cell phones. There's a much greater agenda behind 5G. So that's what we really are exposing, and we came across really there's 4 different subject matters that are really important to even consider knowing a little bit about 5G. One of them is obviously the new technology. What are the differences from 4 to 5G? How do we identify all those differences? That's a key aspect. And obviously the laws and our rights as individual sovereign people here in Switzerland. We identified those laws that they are in breach. Okay, so there's about 30 different laws that are in breach with the implementation of 5G. So we've done a lot of work there. Obviously all the EMF health effects of 5G, that's a very big concept to know about it. The government knows about it, but they don't care. They just steam ahead, and even if they inform other government bodies within Switzerland, such as the states, and we call it here the cantons, those governments, they know exactly what's wrong with these technologies, but they just go ahead. They take the economic benefits over the health damages, and then of course so it goes on. So these are some of the key aspects of 5G. We help here, just to inform our people with those kind of informations and explain how they can go about it, and that's really what we're doing with what our mission is.
Let's explain to our viewers what is the difference between 4G and 5G. what they are telling us and what they are hiding?
Yes. Well, 4G is definitely enough actually to provide the connectivity for our cell phones the way we have it used. Yes, of course, 5G will be faster. There's no question about it. But 5G is derived really from a military, weapon. So if we look at the precision of the current weapons that are being applied in the Ukraine, you can see 5G is involved there, and that allows these projectiles to be, more accurate in their targets. And so it really requires a tremendous amount of data, and 5G is to deliver that a lot of 10 times faster than 4G. And but they tell us a complete lie, and they're telling us here in Switzerland it will obviously go 10 times faster, and it will be will utilize 10 times less power, electricity. And right now we know all over Europe we have issues with power already. So I mean, there's a lot of problems there, and 5G obviously the technology allows for devices to be targeted where they're absolutely at, so they're more targeted, but that is also only when they speak about one gadget. So when we're waiting somewhere in the bus stations and there's 500 people waiting to get to the bus in the train station exactly, so you're going to have all these MIMO beams hitting us, and then there is really no difference. It's actually a much higher radiation level than 4G. So this is where we really have a lot of done a lot of work behind the scenes. And we also work with engineers to better understand the technologies. It's extremely complex, and different manufacturers such as Ericsson out of Sweden, we have Nokia out of Finland, and then Huawei out of China. So those are some of the key equipment makers and manufacturers of those new antennas.
You mentioned that they're using this as a weapon in Ukraine now. Can you explain us how they're using?
Well, again, the millimeter waves is not a new thing. We have documentation from the Russians, that the CIA got back from the 1977. They explained the radio and the millimeter waves exactly. So, I mean, the military used those type of millimeter waves, a long time ago, and it happens that once military, technology has advanced, and some of these older technologies come out into commerce, and then they get utilized like they're getting utilized now through the telecom organizations worldwide. But we can't forget what those millimeter waves really are causing, and how it's being implemented. So in order for these short waves to be implemented across the whole nation, it requires a tremendous amount of masts and antennas. And this is really where we're everywhere getting into trouble now. So it obviously has a major environmental impact, just the way towns look with all these nasty masts everywhere. And then obviously, the power required, you talked about what's the difference between 4 and 5G. A 5G antenna today, we know that it requires a minimum of 5,500 to 6,000 watt minimum requirement power capacity for it to even take operations, and that's much different with a 4G antenna. So we know in order to get these short millimeter waves coming across thick cement walls and buildings, and all the way having a reception done in the cellar, it requires a tremendous amount of power load, and that's really not being discussed. It's not being exposed, because they always only use the example of you holding the handy next to your head and you're making a connection over the antenna. But this is much more complex, and so this requires a lot more work for the public to understand really what's all behind 5G.
And you are now fighting against this in Switzerland. How is your success until now?
It's been painful. I started here really getting active in April of 2019, so we're going on almost 4.5 years. And what we have done is we started off by informing the people on the boots on the ground, so to say. And so the people, we educated them in how to actually appeal some of these building permits. So these the mobile telecom companies were putting up those antennas under contract from the government, by the way. They're doing this with a building permit, and what happened is for the government to circumvent that process, they allowed some special process without requiring a building permit. And we just won a very, very specific case in the court here at the canton, in other words, like the state level here at the government, and we won against them because we showed them the evidence that it is absolutely illegal what they're actually doing. But of course, when nobody says anything, they can just plow ahead. So we're really educating from the bottom up. We know from the top down it's very, very tough because that mandate implementing 5G worldwide, it doesn't matter which country, that is really a military operation worldwide through the elite that wants to install that new world order, because it all has to do with the connectivity and being able to follow us each step we take 24 hours a day. And so we're educating the people from the bottom up, help them with these appeals. We right now have about 3,500 appeals filed. Most of those antennas, in other words, these locations, are being held up right now in the courts. So they're requiring a ton more of these locations, and we're holding them up wherever we can, but only there where the people are willing to step up and follow the paperwork we allow them to utilize. And so we are having really, really good success, but it also has to do with the laws that we actually have here in Switzerland. So it's day and night implementing 5G in China or in some other country where there's a dictatorship over the sovereign people. But here in Switzerland, thank God, we do have some specific laws. But if we don't, if we don't appeal and we don't pull these people to court, then they will do everything and circumvent the laws that we have in place.
Yeah, we'll come back to this again to ask people if they want to lead you, where to find you. But is it true that there is no insurance company like Swiss Re or Lloyd's of London doesn't have any insurance of liability of 5G?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, there's various reports. I mean, Swiss Re is exactly one of those companies, or Lloyd's of London. You can go and find out in their, investment documentation. So when they show which industries are high risk, where they are not capable of actually providing them with liability, general liability insurance, and mobile technology, 5G is exactly right there. Just like with a nuclear plant or some other highly dangerous operation, so to say, they actually place the 5G mobile technology right in there and do not provide those telecom providers with the mobile network with these liability insurance. So what that really means, if a municipality or a private landowner is allowing a mess from being built, then on the end, here in Switzerland, a landowner, if that is the city, if that is the municipality or the canton or an individual, they pay a lot of money, up to $1.8 million, the highest that we found out a landowner has been paying for such a mass location. So they're getting almost bribed to actually allow for such a mass to get built. So when there is no liability insurance, then they can fall back to the actually property owner. And that's what most of these landowners don't know when they sign those contracts, that at one point, since they have been getting these payments, that they will actually have to stand up and stay there for the liability once they actually identify that those things really cause liability. So a lot of people will have a major wake-up call when that happens.
How come that huge amount of money they are offering for this land? There must be some return on investment, and I don't see how.
Yes, right now, since there is a huge critic across Switzerland, I mean, we have done various surveys across Switzerland. There was also a system media called 20 Minutes that 2-3 years ago did a survey on the street. And they identified that over 50% of the people that were surveyed, the Swiss citizens on the street, they said that they don't want 5G. They think that we don't need 5G. So who really wants it, right? We know who wants it. It's our government, okay? They want it, and the industry, they want it because it is all data. Data is money in today's world, and they're all about getting that to that data. So when they eliminate technologies from the past, 2G that turned off, 3G is going to get turned off here by 24, the latest by 25. So they're pushing us to get into the newer technologies and make it so that we all have to digitize us ourselves into our lives and lifestyle. So, I mean, it's we're all in capture of this, and we need to do whatever we can to hold this thing getting, holding it back from this infrastructure getting built out.
Well, you mentioned digitalization. I have to say that in Croatia, our Prime Minister said that the main goal, that Croatia will become the first digitalized country in the European Union. And everybody who doesn't know much about these things, that it's a good thing, because digitalization brings you lots of advantages. But what is hiding behind this digitalization?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think most politicians that, cause for these certain laws to get implemented and stuff, they don't read about it, they're not aware of it. But when I do my presentations with the people, we talk about this digitalization in very detail, because I say most people here in this room in the next 5 years will most likely lose their job over the digitalization. So there are good aspects of digitalization, but so to say, the elite that wants to implement this digitalization worldwide, it is a digitalization then into the transhumanization. So 5G is supposed the last generation where we actually have the handies still, the cell phones outside us, okay? And the next generation, 6G, that's from 100 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz, those are supposed to be in our bodies, okay? Somewhere in our bodies, these chips. So what that means is they are trying to get us humans turned into robots. In other words, that transhumanization, when that is exactly what they're trying to implement. And so most people have no idea about this, and most of them, our politicians, have no idea about this. That's what's really the scary part. And you can imagine when that plan goes through. So we need to do whatever we can to hold this up and educate more people about exactly what's in store if they can just implement that system.
Well, you said that most politicians doesn't have a clue what is happening. I can say reverse, maybe they know and they participate. I don't know which is worse from these two, but okay, what this means, cyberizing humans. You mentioned something that will have implemented in the body. Can you explain us?
Yes, I think when we see the right-hand consultant to Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum here in Switzerland, that meet once a year in Davos, but they also meet once in China, for the people that know that. When he, as the number one right-hand consultant, talks about digitalization and then transhumanization, the cyberization, that means through the cyber connectivity, that we will all become part of the network, okay? So with those millimeter waves they're developing, 5G, 6G is in the laboratories, they even talk about 7G, okay? But with those frequencies, with those, electromagnetic waves, they have an absolute capacity, and there's many patents that confirm what they have in mind, okay? And in mind, they have us and our mind to control. So over those towers, okay, over those frequencies, through this kind of electrosmog, they have and will have the capacity to actually guide us to our thoughts, okay? And so they will be able to read our thoughts and or put our thoughts into our mind. That's scary stuff. That means we are no longer humans the way we know and how we live our lives. They really would like to manipulate us into our thoughts. In other words, I can see the economic the economic impact. So when a big multinational corporation that is selling chocolate or cookies can put in your mind, hey, you are now looking for some chocolate, and you're going to go and order some chocolate or something like that. So you can imagine what that will do with us. And he is one of the absolute main, his name is Yuval Noah Harari. He is one of the main consultants to that network that wants to install this worldwide, and it's a very, very scary thing to even consider. So people like that are being given the platform. They are all over the world. They're talking on all those congresses and exposing their ideas. And of course, then you have all the way down to your local telecoms who are trying to implement that connectivity. In other words, the infrastructure build out. And this is the reason why we're going full gas here in Switzerland, educating the people from the bottom up. So we have the people not go with this, and people appeal that whole thing because if we can hold up the infrastructure from getting built out, they have a problem to get the actual connectivity points to actually have a network completed. We have quite a bit of a percentage of the 5G locations now in operation, but for the whole network to work, they have to build a whole lot more antennas and especially also the repeater antennas, the small cell antennas all over the place in the cities and stuff. And that also makes sense that these infrastructure build-outs are extremely expensive. So that's the reason why they want these 15-minute cities. So the people out in the land, out in nature, they want these people to go and move them into the city. So everything is on top of each other within this 15-minute city radius, and everybody else outside, they won't get connected. And there's other obviously agenda items that would like to eliminate these people in the out the way from the city. So I mean, it all has to do with control and obviously having the power over us people.
Christian, we have to explain to our audience. Lots of people really see this as impossible, and they don't see a way how to do it because they don't have knowledge of technology what they possess. I'll have to not make quotes, paraphrase it, Klaus Schwab and also Noah Hariri, who says that algorithms will know more about ourselves than we know. For example, he said, 21 years ago, I didn't know that I was homosexual. In the future, technology, algorithm will tell us before, when we even were young, they tell us what kind of sexual orientation are we. Or second example, when Klaus Schwab says, in the future, we will know upfront how people thinking and how they're going to vote. And for that reason, we will ask ourselves a question, do we need elections anymore? They are talking about this publicly. Nobody's commenting how they keep planning to do it. I had an interview with Elana Freeland, and we were talking about chemtrails, and she said that chemtrails are not the worst thing what they're spraying on us. The worst thing is nanobots that we are inhaling in us, and they are so small they can cross to blood-brain barrier. What do you know about this? That we're talking now exactly about Internet of Bodies.
That's exactly right. We're also currently in the laboratories confirming some things that we picked up here from last fall in October, when we had things, must have been sprayed from northern of Italy all the way to the north of Germany, all the way to the Netherlands. They sprayed like these spider web things, okay? So the government and the Swiss TV told us to relax. This was the old summer period, and these spiders were going crazy, doing their little spider webs. But we have taken those things into the labs, and I can tell you we're very, very close from actually exposing what we have found. And I think I would absolutely agree. It's probably the nanodust that we're breathing in that will allow some kind of a neuron network inside our bodies. And we are also following, the graphene concept, but that will be extremely expensive to spray this, with these concepts. So we are looking in the laboratories what we can find out. We're also looking what kind of patents they already have, and that's the scary part when you see certain patents that allow for us to understand, okay, what is in store here with this whole thing, and then start connecting the dots. I would think that's exactly right. We are at the level now where we really are being under attack from all over the place, from the air through the food, okay, obviously through pharma with the injections, the gain manipulating, solutions that put in, and so we are at war. And I call it here in Switzerland, it's a hybrid war. It's no longer fought the way it was with the conventional traditional weapons. We can see this now a little bit north from us here in the Ukraine, but the real wars are real hidden, and I could tell you a whole lot more about what kind of research that we have done in how we can actually get our people here in Switzerland to kind of wake up more. But it's really mean when it comes over the airwaves, in other words, over the air. And of course, once we have these nanotechnologies in us, you can imagine then with these frequencies that can control our mind, and then of course they can put that in our mind that we're homosexual or we're lesbian, okay? So you have to look where artificial intelligence, this can all become extremely manipulated. So we're really in for some really interesting times ahead of us.
Yeah. We call it this 5th generation warfare. We are in the middle of it, and there is a lots of weapons. One of these weapons also, as Elena Freeland told me, she says that people who were injected by these mRNA vaccines are 1st generation of transhumanists. What do you think about this?
Yes, I would agree. I have, as I shared with you, I spent quite a long time in the United States. Starting in 2003, I got involved through investments into some health-related projects, and this is what really got me started in this whole health industry. And then around 2011, we started this international platform in the United States, and then they went international. And there we had various doctors, medical doctors as well, that worked with us with our program. And one of those was also Sherry Tenpenny, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny from the United States, extremely famous worldwide. She even has an educational platform where you can learn anything and everything about all the different vaccines, not just the mRNA. She's been doing this for over 20 years and has close to 45,000 hours in research about all these vaccines and what damages they cause, what the ingredients are. I supported her with a very big thing, or very important thing in the Isle of Man a few years ago. It was 2018, I think. Plus, we knocked some things through the laboratories here in Italy. So we did some laboratory work on the HPV vaccine and showed, in how extremely dangerous this thing is. Only 22% of the ingredients in that lab were identified what it was. And the balance of that, also 78% of the ingredients were unidentifiable. You have to understand, this is just crazy. And we're having that stuff injected into children, boys and girls. And it's absolutely true that I see that we're in for a very big hurt here when we don't do something about it, and it takes really a big approach from everybody and all the nations together. So, I mean, Yeah, probably the worst thing is being scared about it. Most people are really scared because, people are in fear because they have the lack of knowledge. So, if we can provide them, just like what you're doing here with all your work and all your broadcasting, for more people to understand really what's behind it and learning more about it, starting their own self-studies and research, it will allow them to get into somewhat of a comfort, to have a better idea, be settled, and then actually start and collecting their minds and doing something about it that can be effective. And that's what we're doing here in Switzerland, trying to take away the panic, the angst, and bring them in from panic into activity and helping them with solutions. And the solution is other people, waking up other people, educating their politicians from the municipality up in the city councils there, and also be very direct. Don't vote another one into office when these guys are not willing to listen to you, and also start reading and researching the information that you have acquired about all the stuff that they're doing to us here.
I can add to this something, my experience from Croatia. I was writing to HALME, that's Croatian Agency for Medical Products, because Kevin McKenna found impurity in the virus, and that was plasmids of DNA. And I was asking about this. Of course, I didn't receive any answer. They just told me that they are following all procedures. But what was the most important thing? When I asked, I want to check what is in this virus, they said that according to the agreement, they cannot control what is in virus if it is controlled already from some kind of laboratory who is independent. And I check out, of course, all these laboratories are not independent. They are depending from people who are financing them. But this additional issue, that means all vials that came in Croatia, and it was administrated 5.3 million, they are not controlled by Croatian Agency for Medicine Products because they're not allowing. And logical question is, if everything is okay, why don't you allow us to control it? That means everything inside is exactly as you say. That's why I press a charge against them. There's just additional thing to this. What now you know about studies what's showing health issues from electromagnetic fluctuations?
Yeah. Okay, interesting is about the studies, and obviously the telecoms usually only use their studies that they finance, either directly or indirectly through foundation. So it always comes down to, when you review a study, okay, who paid for it, who was the endorser of that study. So we kind of follow here. Henry Lay is a professor at the University of Washington, United States. He started the Bio Initiative 2012, and he has done 30 years of research of independent studies about EMF, results. And the interesting thing is, when you go and research that part, is that independent studies, independently financed, that's really tough. It's hard to find money for those crazy dry up studies, but they do it, these independent researchers, because that's what they do. And he found out that 2.5 times, there's 2.5 times more those studies showing effects of the EMFs. In other words, negative effects of those EMF impacts on us humans and animals. So what's crazy is like from 100 studies, 64. So from 100 studies, 64% of all studies over 30 years have shown that they have DNA damages, all the way to breaks in the DNA strands. It's crazy. And also 73% from 100 studies showed that they had neurological issues and damages caused by those EMFs, electromagnetic fields and frequencies. So that's pretty substantial. And then the worst is 90%. So 90 studies from 100 showed oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is normally the beginning stages of, for autoimmune, sicknesses and diseases, and for all, and then especially also cancer. So, we follow that really deeply. There's various platforms worldwide that follow EMF, and obviously what's required is the know-how in English, because over 95% of all health studies are always done in the English language. And when you take an English study and you translate it, online and stuff, there's always, some minor issues with the accuracy of the translation. So it does require good knowledge in English to really understand what's all in those studies. So that's why we break it down so anybody can see it and understand it. And some of those we even translate into German here in Switzerland, so people can really better understand what we're talking about. So, there's some substantial issues with the health effects of the EMFs, and we can probably talk about in a little bit more detail here in a few minutes.
Yes, we will. We have to just add to this that it's not only ionizing radiation, it's non-ionizing radiation who also making damage. Can you tell us what kind of damage exactly, what kind of disease we can expect from this non-ionizing radiation?
Yeah, exactly. So there's an organization, ICNIRP, the International Commission for Radiation Protection. Their job actually is to identify these radiation levels, and they're looking at the thermal, and then only the thermal. That means only when the body would be heated up by a certain percentage, and a certain degree of temperature. But what they are completely neglecting is the biological effects. Okay, what does it do in our biological system? And but this organization, ICNIRP, was founded by the U.S. military and Motorola, a big telecom company, and they're still located in Germany. And they're giving these radiation levels to the World Health Organization. Then the World Health Organization gives all their recommendations to all the governments. This is how the governments are always saying, yeah, we're just using what they're telling us, okay? So that doesn't mean anything. We're definitely not protected. So the effects of the biological effects, obviously, they have major impacts, like Dr. Martin Paul, Professor Martin Paul, out of the United States as well. He identified the issues with the calcium channels, because these man-made technical, radiations, they're pulsed. That means that they're not like the natural ambient radiation, for like the Schumann waves and all these different frequencies that we have in nature, but these technical waves, they have this pulsing, and that has an effect on our cells. So the cells stay open too long. In other words, these channels remain open because there's a conflict in how the messaging is done within the cell. So the liquids outside the cells, a lot of the calcium, extra calcium, comes into the cell core, the core of the cell, and what happens is it causes the pentaxonitrite. That's extremely high level, poison, so to say, that has an effect on the membranes, the DNA, the proteins, the mitochondria. So there's a lot of these things that have been extremely well researched, with human and also, of course, animal studies. So we know what these effects are, and we even have actually court cases. But the court cases worldwide, that's just not being shared through the system media, mainstream media. We actually have to know where to go look for, and that's really, it's a total shame that we have to do this. So we know that the government is not in any level trying to help us getting protected from it. They really don't care, and that's what we also share with the people here in Switzerland. They need to know that their false hope that the government has their health, in their head, in other words, protecting their health, that's just a phony lie, and that's just not what's happening.
Yeah, it's calling voltage gate calcium channel.
Yeah, exactly.
This calcium entering in the cell, and this radiation has a huge impact on that. Okay, we'll have to just additional thing to settle, and then at the end we'll talk about what we can do against it. There is a behind whole agenda of controlling of people, and this technology is necessary for that. Can you explain what else they need now in the present moment to have completely control of our system, of our lives, and of our future?
Very good question. We have seen the, all the way up, when we had this pandemic in March 2020, when that started, we were in this destabilization phase of the world. That's where worldwide, over 190 countries coordinated that whole effort across the whole world. It was amazing to watch. Then what happened is when Russia started their operation in Ukraine, we actually entered into a absolute deconstruction phase in this world. And in that deconstruction phase, we see all the way this, accelerating of sanctions, obviously war. That's why I'm saying that was the key day, 24 February 6th, last year. And then we see other things that are really, really key, which is obviously the UBI, Universal Basic Income. They're trying to eliminate our cash. In other words, it becomes harder and harder and harder to have cash on you, pay your bills with cash, because cash in the end is, allowing you the freedom. You can go buy things and you can sell things without this being monitored through the government. And that's exactly with the digitalization. They want to forego that and take that away from us. So by a digital currency and a UBI account, most likely all the little banks will be disappearing and the nation will have one big national bank or a central bank. So we all have one account left with the national bank. It's the digital account. We call that Universal Basic Income, that account. So you maybe get $3,500 at the end of the month, and they tell you where you can spend it. And you can't save it. You have to spend it. And if you don't behave, like, you don't do exactly what the government tells you to do, and you maybe refuse to take that next pharma injection, then they can easily just click the button and actually take you out of business, whereas you no longer have access to your financial resources. If they think that you owe them taxes, they can just go take it out of the account. Then you have no money left for your food. So whatever it is, it's total control, and that's what they're trying to do. So we need to do everything we can that we can hinder that infrastructure to be built out and keep our cash and stay away from digital currencies. That is not good news for anybody here listening and viewing this show.
Yes, I saw one interview with Hariri, and when he explained that people will lose jobs, and we will have so many useless people. And the guy asked him what we can do with these people. He says, joking, drugs and video games. We can give them drugs and give them video games to play. He was joking, but this is the serious things. Okay, now let's come to this, what we as ordinary people can do against it. There are some things technically what we can do, and also according to the organization, how we can organize our lives to fight against this new order, great reset, build back better, whatever they call it.
What can we do? Also, when we start talking about, the EMFs that we're exposed to, I want to be fair, and it's not just mobile technology, okay? So it's not just 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, whatever. We're being radiated also with military radar, flight radars, and with our air traffic controlling. As closer you are to the cities, we have other aspects, power lines, all those different things. But we also have to pay attention extension all the way to the houses, so where we live. A lot of people have TVs and electronic gadgets in their, bedrooms, and I would highly suggest that number one, start in your bedroom and eliminate any and all electric gadgets, so it can be free, or as free as possible, from those own equipment and gadgets, like wireless phones that we have through the landline. These D-Tech phones, they're radiating like crazy as well. All the way to even lamps, like an iron lamp standing in the corner, they are also emitting EMFs. So we have people in Switzerland. You can hire those guys to come to your house, and they go through each of your rooms and identify, what is actually exposing you, all the way to your new stoves. So these induction, stoves, all these brand new technologies, with all the pots and pans and the induction stove tops, they're radiating like absolutely crazy. And if you read the small print, the warning signals that tell you to have at least 1 meter distance. So how are you going to prepare a meal by using those stoves? So I would rip the stuff out. I would go and get old stoves again, like it used to be, where you get a lot less radiation. So we really have to go ahead and eliminate that first. And then the other thing is when we really have hypersensitive people with EMF problems, then they do make textiles such as cloth, where you have like silver strings in those textiles. They protect you from these frequencies. But that's also important that when we do this, that we are also going out into nature and get the natural ambient radiation from the Schumann waves, the fractal, the broadband, and the substance spectrums. So it's important. Those are very, 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 very important frequencies that we are only getting in nature. So go in the forest, go to the lake, go to the river, go to the mountains, get away from all the stuff, and go and regroup and rejuvenate in nature. And for people that they can't do that, there are some technologies these days, and we use this here in Switzerland. I work for a German physics doctor that developed some equipment where we can actually recreate those natural ambient frequencies. And the concept is not to protect you, but to actually strengthen your immune system. And with a stronger immune system, you actually have a better chance dealing with those, damaging the technical radiation levels that these equipment broadcast to you. So, there's this is quite a bit of a subject matter here to talk about it, but this is just in a nutshell what we can do here right out of the gate.
I have an important question. What is the role of satellites and their emission of radiation?
Yes, I think the satellites, have obviously right now, to sum it all up, we have over 20 companies worldwide. They're trying to shoot about 400,000 of those satellites out into space. You can imagine what that will do.
Repeat,
right?
400,000.
400,000.
Okay,
They plan
400,000 satellites in the space.
Yeah.
Okay.
About there's over 20. Maybe it's now already close to 30 companies. But with Arthur Furstenberg out of Santa Fe, United States, I have a relationship with him too. He has researched that extremely well. Plus, there is another group. It's called BBELAN, Broadband International Lawyer Action Network, out of the United States. They have followed that, and also sued, the FTC. I believe they're over the airspace. In other words, they sued that to make sure that this Starlink network from Elon Musk will be hindered from actually proceeding the way they're doing it. But just in a nutshell, the radiation levels are pretty low, but it has to do with the signals from the satellites, the signals to the antennas, to the mast that we have here. And then obviously they almost work like a repeater. So the signals we get from above onto our antennas down here, and from there it's like a repeater. And that's something that we're trying to follow as well as possible. And who knows? I mean, they also actually had the opportunity to take the internet away from us the way we're used to over the fiber optics, and just do it over the satellite system as a backup system. Because if they want to censor us, now everybody has access to alternative news, like to channels like you. And so in the near future, I see that they will try to censor us from having access to even gain access to information like what we're doing here today. And that could be with a backup system that we are no longer getting access, and we will be required, to be modeled right in there to get access through Elon Musk's system or whatever other systems will be provided to us to get internet through that. So, and who knows? I mean, where is this all going? We just have to be aware and keep our eyes and ears open on what's happening here.
And for the end, can you tell us, our audience who want to investigate more and find the solution and protect themselves, how they can find you and your work and your information, what is necessary to continue to fight against this dangerous?
Yes, our website is Verein Wir. You may have to kind of put that under your video down on the end. But in Switzerland, we have this website. We have all sorts of information. We have two other really important non-profit organizations that we work together. One is very specific in the technology, extremely well informed, over 30 years doing the work of electrosmog, identifying all the cons about it, and they're doing a great work for so long. And he's a great friend of mine, Hans-Uli Jakob, with Gigahertz. And there's another organization, it's called Schutz vor Strahlung, with Rebecca Meyer as the president, and they're also doing very good work. They have actually an alarm, so when you register there and you have an antenna go up in your municipality, it will actually tell you, send you an email like, hey, they're planning to do an antenna here, it's time to do an appeal. And so we work pretty close together here in Switzerland. So if people contact us, we can actually send them in the right directions. And here, our website is a WordPress website. You can actually have it translated in multiple languages. English is, of course, part of that. And it's not some things we cannot translate. It's just we don't have the resources to do that, translating videos and stuff. But a lot of the written text of the website will be translated with the WordPress website so people can get an idea what we're talking about. So yes, I invite anybody to visit, come by, and if we can assist one way or the other. And maybe what I forgot, what's really important is in the success level of going from the bottom up, is we put so much pressure with the people to the actual city councils. And we now are working and have over 20 mandates with cities. And the cities are fighting against, the mobile telecoms and against the government. Because now they start to wake up in how these guys got screwed and they were lied on. And because of the building permits, they had submitted, wrongful, falsified data sheets. So with all these facts, we've shown these facts, and now they're like getting hot. And so we have done a mailing, news, like press releases to all the cities and cantons here in Switzerland. We have 2,139 municipalities, and we sent them our fact sheets in where the telecom companies are lying, where they are misrepresenting, facts, and so we show them all these things, and that's having a major effect. More and more municipalities, the city council members and stuff, are taking action and start taking control over what's happening. So that's just kind of in a nutshell, in addition to what we already talked about today.
Thank you, Christian. It was very pleasure, and continue with your work. And for sure in the future we will have more contacts and to help each other to inform people about dangers what is coming from this kind of technology?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks to everybody that is taking the time to view this. It's extremely important that we invest this time educating ourselves, excuse me, educating our politicians, because don't let yourselves get irradiated. Don't let yourselves get in that cash taken away for the digitalization. Once we allow for the cash to be gone, then we're absolutely caught in this slavery. And I wish everybody in Croatia to take a stand and get up. And you guys have been manipulated from the United States. Same thing with Switzerland. More and more we see the transatlantic network of the system media, the mainstream media, also here in Switzerland. It's all being controlled from the Council of Foreign Relations, the Council. Other aspects all the way to NATO. They're trying to control every aspect of our lives, and we need to fight against it. And I wish everybody really all the best and absolute best health on the way to the success. Thanks so much for having me here today.
Evo, dragi narode, čuli ste opet možda neke nove informacije za vas, ali evo, ono što bi vam ja htio poručiti jeste, toplo vas preporučam da pročitate sve što gospodin radi, Christian, ne samo on, ima ih i drugi. Naime, samo vjerovati kompanijama koji na tome zarađuju milijarde nije mudro. Još manje je mudro vjerovati političarima za koje evo, gospodin Christian kaže da ne znaju uopće o ovoj tehnologiji ništa, a ja vjerujem da mnogi od njih jako dobro znaju, ali se isplati da šute. Već smo do sada imali takvih iskustava. Stoga, nemojte misliti da sam protiv tehnologije, jer kao što vidite koristim dnevno tehnologiju upravo u ovoj našoj borbi za prave informacije. Međutim, prvenstveno sam za čovjeka, a kad si za čovjeka moraš vidjeti da tehnologija koristi čovjeku, a ne da bude upotrebljena protiv njega. Ovog časa svjedočimo da imamo razloga sumnjati da je upotrebljavaju protiv nas. I ako vi ne znate da ta tehnologija postoji, to ne znači da ne postoji. Hvala vam lijepo još jedanput i uskoro se vidimo u sljedećoj epizodi Slobodnog.
Nitko vas neće natjerati da se poklonite zvijeri, učinit ćete to svoje voljno, odbacujući vjeru. Bićete laka meta za zvijeri, jer se niste podredili vjeri. Ako se ne podredite vjeri, podredit ćete se zvijeri. Toliko ćete se suobličiti sa ovim svijetom, da nećete ni prepoznati da ste u zabludi. Biće to najveća demonska prevara ikada i pravedno zaslužena osuda nad nepokajanim grešnicima.
Gdje su svi